Neurodivergent burnout is different to your normal average burnout, and it's because your normal burnout is usually you pushing yourself too hard, you're working too hard, you're people pleasing too hard, you're not getting enough rest. But then take that and add masking, trying to present in a way that conforms to socially acceptable standards, thinking constantly when you're engaging with people what that socially acceptable standard is, suppressing your stims, thinking about how to say something so that you won't experience being misunderstood for the millionth time. That's the difference. Burnout, neurodivergent burnout is something different. It has a different source. It is your system being burnt out, but it comes from a particular thing that is unique to neurodivergence. And I never knew I was neurodivergent when all of this happened, so I couldn't understand why I was so burnt out. I only recognize it now since I've been diagnosed, but it took several years of specialists and different treatments and more surgeries and tons of money to figure things out. Doctors will treat every other thing before thinking you're an AuDHD woman, especially if you seem intelligent, eloquent, and are holding down a respectable job. And being a lecturer certainly ticks all those boxes. No one saw it until I did, where I took my evidence to an ADHD specialist who diagnosed me within the first half hour. This was after about 10 psychologists and psychiatrists and 1 psychiatric clinic and 2 chronic pain hospitals could never diagnose me correctly. We women fall through the cracks because the criteria are so biased on both sides of my neurospiciness. Neurodivergent burnout and lost goals. And me feeling the loss of this big goal, doing my psychology masters on an issue that I'm passionate about. Because I am burnt out AF, I had to discontinue it almost as soon as I started it. I didn't even manage the first 3 months of study. Because when my brain is burnt out, it cannot write well. It's like I can read and I can do the research and I can take things in and have the argument in my mind, but it just doesn't want to come out properly on paper. My writing and thoughts become confused and tired, and I just write badly. My supervisor was so understanding when I spoke to him about discontinuing because he could see in some parts my writing was excellent, and in others it was like I was writing as if I was a different person. There was no clarity and there was repetition and the points weren't cohesive to the whole. And that's when I realized my brain was not up for this. But he used the dreaded word. You've got potential. Ugh. He was being encouraging, but to a neurodivergent person like me, who has talent, but just can't pull it out right now, it was like a weapon, a stab in the heart. How often do we know what we can do in the best of times when circumstances are ideal and when we are not overloaded by the chronic physical symptoms that come with our spicy brains? We can be brilliant, and sometimes are, even for the world to see, but we are not in control of when this can consistently happen. Living with a neurodivergent brain in a neurotypical or neuroconformist world actually causes damage. Burnout is basically inevitable, at least for my generation, my gender, who go undiagnosed until late adulthood. They call us the lost girls. We can be brilliant, but if our brains are overwhelmed, they shut down. And during these times, we're not wasting our potential, or the classic being lazy. We've literally just reached a limit to our functioning because there is only so much sensory overload and neuroconforming discomfort and being a square peg forced into a round hole that we can take. And this is where I find myself today. Without the knowledge, treatment, and resources that my brain and body needed as an AuDHD woman, I got burnt out AF, and I can't make my brain work in the way that it needs to finish a master's degree. This hurts. It's something I wanted to do for over a decade, and it's not like I didn't achieve anything else in the last decade. I began a new career and I undertook an intensive undergraduate degree in a completely different discipline while working full-time, and I did learn a ton of new skills. But this came at the cost of completing my master's first while I still had capacity, and now I don't. Because my brain is tired and I'm semi-traumatized from working in academia for so long while being burnt out in a field that just didn't fit me well anymore. Being AuDHD means you walk next to a graveyard daily, and in this graveyard are all the hobbies and goals that you once or still were passionate about, but you didn't have the capacity to fulfill through no fault of your own, because your brain was being forced to live in a world that didn't really want it. I can see each grave marker. Some graves are more elaborate than others, and today a new one has gone up. It's pretty big because it's a significant death to me. I planned several years of my life around it. I planned a future career around it. Rest in power, my psychology masters. I'll put the graduation gown and cap on top of your headstone. I needed you for so many reasons. I wanted to do so much with you. Next to you in smaller graves, I will put all the other things that you would have made happen for me. An empty grave where the PhD should have gone. A few smaller graves for the journal articles I would have written. Another one for the academic speaker roles I would have had. Gosh. This one is a whole graveyard plot on its own. It also means a totally different kind of podcast and YouTube channel, I think. Rest in power, all my small and big goals that would have come after my master's. It's goodbye to academia for now. My brain is worn out and can no longer work in this capacity. The eulogy is, here lies Nikki's academic brain. Gone too soon, burnt out with wasted potential. Another AuDHD woman's potential bites the dust. I know it sounds dramatic, but honestly, this is dramatic. The loss of this goal and life direction hurts, like a lot. And if you're an AuDHD woman like me, you will have experienced it, or you're still yet to experience it. It's just a matter of time. Unless, and a big unless you get your diagnosis and you figure out how to hack the system and use your brain in a way that suits you and who you are and what you love doing. And so my goal now is to educate and empower the next generation of AuDHD or autistic and ADHD young people so that they won't have to face burnout as an inevitability and won't have to walk next to a graveyard of broken dreams every day. Green Day. Don't be like me. Get help sooner. Ignore the bias criteria and do the research and learn how to advocate for yourself. Don't be medically gaslighted for so many years that it becomes too late and burnout becomes inevitable. You know, I was in psychotherapy with multiple mental health care specialists for almost 2 decades when I finally got my diagnosis. And the only reason I got it is because I fought for it. I can't do that, at least not for this foreseeable future while my brain is burnt out AF, but I can and I will use this platform with the life experience and counseling expertise that I do have. I'm not that uneducated and I probably have more experience with psychotherapy and treatment protocols and engaging with neurodivergence than most specialists out there. Because you spot it, you got it. And according to one of my peeps, I collect neurodivergence wherever I go. I can't help it. If you're the one neurospicy in the room, I will find you and I will connect with you. So, may your graveyard of burnout goals and hobbies not be as big as mine. And I wish you all the power that you need to resurrect the ones you miss and love the most. Because that's the power of the neurospicy brain. Our hyperfixation and hyperfocuses can resurrect spontaneously. And it might just be at a time when our brains and bodies can actually handle it.